Welcome to Speak For Yourself from the crib. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley. We have an awesome show planned for you today. LeVar Arrington's going to join us shortly. Then we'll be joined by Mark Schlereth and Rick Bucher as well in today's show. But we start with the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott, brought to you by the Popeyes chicken sandwich. And boy, oh boy, could I use a Popeyes chicken sandwich right now, Marcellus. I'm starving, but let's get right into Dak Prescott. Let's get right to Dak Prescott. And I have an analogy I want to use. You guys know I love to make relationship analogies. And studies show that 30% of marriages, or 30% of people's college relationships lead to marriage. And that's because people tend to marry the last person they dated in college. This is particularly true. I'm a good old Midwest boy. This is particularly true in the Midwest and South. People used to go to Ball State. We used to say as guys, a lot of girls would go to Ball State looking for their MRS degree. That was more popular than a PhD. And look, it makes sense for a man or a woman to be looking for their spouse on a college campus. The people are bright. They're motivated. They come from relatively good families. It makes sense to go after your spouse on a college campus. But is it really the smartest thing to do long term? That's where I question. I see a lot of people end up settling. And that's what I'm worried about here with Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones. I'm concerned that Jerry Jones is about to make the mistake I've seen a lot of people make in college. Dak Prescott, he spent 4 years on the Cowboys campus. He's now ready to graduate and get his diploma. And Jerry and Dak are looking at each other. It's like, man, we've been together for 4 years. And it's time to graduate and move on to the next step in our life. Let's get married. Let's get married long term. But according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Jerry Jones wants a complicated prenuptial agreement before he's willing to say I do. There's a disagreement about guaranteed money and the length of the contract. That's where the deadlock is. And that, to me, is Jerry Jones saying, I want a prenup. And if you want a prenup, that means you shouldn't be getting married. You shouldn't be settling for this quarterback that you're really not that confident in long term. That's why you're arguing about guaranteed money and the length of the contract. I say Jerry should prolong the engagement, give Dak another year of the runaround, and see if he's really the person you want to marry and spend your whole quarterback. Look, these are Jerry's golden years. He's been on this Cowboys campus forever. All of his friends are saying, oh, Jerry, you need to settle down. Just get with Dak. He's the right one. You're not going to do any better. Jerry, listen to me. Don't settle. Put the franchise tag on him. Make him dance for another year. Make him earn that long-term contract. Marcellus, I think that if Jerry Jones does a long-term deal with the Cowboys this offseason, he's settling, just like I've seen a lot of people do once they graduate college. Hey, I'm dating this person, might as well make it a long-term commitment. It would be a mistake for Jerry to settle.
Oh, man. Even though I disagree, that was well said, brother. You took me back to the locker room days when we could look around our locker room per man and per couple and literally know who you met in college versus who you met in the league. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So obviously you don't want to marry exactly the last person you met. You want to keep your eyes open. That said, man, you talk about Dak Prescott being the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL. I'm talking about no respect in terms of who he is, because he's a fourth rounder in the overhyped and over-scrutinized Dallas Cowboys uniform. And I think that's where he's really fallen victim, is the fact that the branding is already kind of formed around him and he can't escape from it. Let's talk about his immeasurables, which most people don't properly value, so therefore you don't think he's worth this money. And when he has the measurables, we still move the goalposts on Dak Prescott. First, he was a winner, but he didn't have the numbers. Then he got the numbers, but other parts had holes in the roster construction, so he didn't have the wins. And then we said, oh, you know what? Who are you? You're just a guy who is functional, but not really a franchise quarterback. Dak Prescott is the kind of guy that can go out there and win a Super Bowl. And you know what would happen after that Super Bowl win? Someone would say, oh, but the defense carried him in the Super Bowl. That's how we treat Dak Prescott in terms of his assessment. I think Jerry is making a smart move, which is entering these negotiations, trying to make Dak one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid quarterback. It's Dak's time. You can't postpone this anymore because it's inevitable. He's going to get paid.
All right, listen, this is Speak for Yourself from the crib. So let's go out to LeVar Arrington's crib and bring him into this conversation. LeVar, I'm sure you agree with me. This would be a classic case of someone settling rather than going out and getting exactly what they want at the quarterback position.
Nah, B, I'm disagreeing with you, son. And here's the reason why I'm going to tell you I disagree with you, all right?
Yeah.
Jones owns Dallas Cowboys campus, if we hadn't noticed that, by the way. He's owned it since 89. And since 89, he's always been in a marriage. He only dated maybe once or twice. He dated Quincy Carter. He dated Drew Bledsoe. But for the most part, he's always been in a married relationship. First being married to Troy Aikman, then being married to Tony Romo. Okay, he won in his marriage with Troy Aikman. Got 3 rings. He got Super Bowl
prom
MVP.
king.
But
that's a prom king right there.
Okay.
Of course you married Troy Aikman.
But then he married Tony Romo, and Tony Romo is 2-4. He's 50-50 in
he was
the playoffs.
a prom king finalist. Of course you married Tony Romo.
All right. Now, and I'm glad that you say that. So he is well versed on marrying and knowing what winning and losing is by now better than anybody else. By the time you get to the prenuptial agreement, all right, you're doing that prenup, that means that she has won. That person you're marrying has won because it's the final part of the negotiation. You are not going to walk away from the marriage. If you've been married and you've done prenups or not done them, you know this to be very true. You are not going to walk away from the marriage based off of the prenup. You are going to find a compromise because you guys want this to happen. Now, I'll end with this. You're saying wait and get something better, all right? Now, this is interesting because now you have made marriage, the institution of marriage, a one-lane street. See, and this is what I got to school you up on with. It's a two-way street when you get married. So he has to want to go down the aisle, and so does Mr. Dak Prescott. So understand this. You may be settling somewhat, but maybe Dak is settling as well. And one man's trash could turn out to be another person's treasure. You don't want to see that man go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl with the numbers that he has in Dallas. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to drop the mic on that one.
And you also don't want to be the man that settles and is always looking over at your boys and be like, damn, that's what he got over on his football team. He got Patrick Mahomes. He has Russell Wilson. He has Lamar Jackson. They stack everywhere. They boom, 36, 24, 36. And you looking across at your 32.
Don't ever get married. Don't ever get married if you're always looking at somebody else's his piece. Don't ever, hey, everybody out there, don't ever get married if you're looking at somebody else's piece the whole time. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, one, I think you lose that part of your psyche once you get married. You better. If not, you're going to be miserable because there's always going to be a Rolls Royce with shinier rims at the red light. It's just the way it goes. However, once you go Dak, you don't go back. Uncle Jimmy told us, man, and he went Dak. And Dak has the second most wins. You don't let that dude on the streets and let somebody else dust off his little deep throws and dust off the intermediate routes and turn into something great. Nah, you make a family with Dak. Let's go.
Yeah.
Look, y'all got to remember who this is. This is the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. The team we all tune in every Sunday, whether we like them or not. The team that's had Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Have they settled from time to time for a Danny White? Absolutely. But they didn't pay Danny White like he was Roger Staubach. That's the issue here. Dak Prescott to me is Dak Prescott to me is running around like he's the prom king or queen and wants to be treated like he's Russell Wilson. Look, Marcellus said it earlier about if Dak wins the Super Bowl, they're going to say the defense carried it. And you know what? It won't matter because they said the same thing about Russell Wilson, but Seattle still turned around and made him the highest paid quarterback in the league. If Dak has that kind of success, someone like me will flip and I don't care what Jerry Jones pays him if he's the quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team and played a significant role in that. But clearly, I'm just sorry, and I'm not going to get all off into y'all's personal business. I don't want you to have to speak on this. But clearly to me, when you're sitting there with this prenup agreement and you arguing about guaranteed money and you're arguing about length of the contract, at this point, when you've argued the entire 2019 season, here we are in 2020, it's March, ain't nothing to do but sit around at home and think about what you're gonna do, what you're gonna pay this guy. The NFL, the whole country's been shut down, and Jerry is still second guessing himself. That's a big red flag. He's got doubts. He's settling. He doesn't want to settle, nor should he.
Can I say one thing? Can I add one thing to this conversation, please? You know how many times Jerry Jones has gotten married? I told you twice. Do you know how long he dated with the other people that he did not marry? It was always less than 4 years. He has dated Dak for 4 years. You said embarrassed or don't want to do it? No, he went public with Dak. He has been in the public eye, tabloids, news outlets. He has been with Dak for 4 years. That puts him in the only category possible for Jerry Jones, which is marriage. The only people he's ever dated longer was Troy Aikman for 12 years and Tony Romo for 10. It is inevitable that they will get divorced because this is a different type of institution of marriage than just marriage. But he is committed to Dak Prescott, and the numbers show it in the amount of time that he has dated Dak. 4 years, going into 5. Pay that man, do the prenup, go ahead and walk down the aisle, Jerry. Put that ring on it. If you want it, you put a ring on it. Put a ring on it, Jerry.
Hey, let me give you this. Hey, you know what's so funny about Jerry, if you really want to go there? Because Troy Aikman had tremendous success and was a great quarterback. But by the numbers, you can look at Dak Prescott and say comparable, if not better, in terms of number production, but obviously doesn't have the wins in the Super Bowls to dress him up. I think if you look at Jerry, I found Dak as a 4th rounder, and he didn't have many options. And then I played him for 4 years on the cheap. But he should be appreciative of wearing that star, being in my mansion, playing for America's team. So now he wants to play Dak even cheaper, longer. And Dak's like, wait a minute, it's time for me to go out. I'm good now. I've shown that I've earned this amount of love and trust and respect. And Jerry's like, nah, I'm going to lock you down for 5 years, which is really the cheap, because Dak knows if I only play for 4 years, I could go back to the table, get some more love, get some more of this money. Jerry's just trying to play Dak on the cheap. This is not about how much he cares about, how much he loves him. It's just he doesn't see him as great as Dak has performed.
Look, I'm going to summarize this conversation this way, and I really don't want to hear from either one of y'all again. We're talking about two guys that are lucky. If you've met their wives, they've so far overachieved, and they have no leverage in their relationship because their wife has all the leverage. That is the problem with their perspective. And that's why you have to trust someone like me. I've always had the upper hand. I mean, when you look like this and you command the kind of respect that I command, You always have the upper hand. Marcellus, LeVar know nothing about that.
Ain't no other hand.
There are situations where, look, some men run their house, some men run around their house. That's why they both always sweating. All right, stick around. More Speak for Yourself. I think Mark Schlereth is coming up next. We're going to go out to Mark Schlereth's crib after this.
Muscle pain? I'm talking stop in your tracks. I'll never work out again. Oh, my God, what am I going to do kind of pain? This is the kind of pain Dr. Jason Wersland was in when he created Theragun, the deep muscle massager that's unlike anything you've ever felt. Theragun isn't a cheap massager that just tickles your muscles. Our handheld percussive device uses a scientifically calibrated combination of speed, depth, and power to release the deepest muscle tension. It's this simple. Whether you want to treat your muscle tension from working out, an injury, or just everyday life, you can use Theragun. Theragun is the preferred muscle recovery device for over 250 professional sports teams and is used by hundreds of thousands of satisfied customers around the world to reduce pain, increase range of motion, and soothe aching muscles. Try Theragun risk-free for 30 days or your money back by going to Theragun.com/cadence. For a limited time, listeners who Speak for Yourself get a free charging stand with the purchase, a $79 value. That's Theragun.com/cadence. That's THERAGUN.com/cadence. CADENCE.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. From the crib, presented by Hyundai, Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley, coming to you live from our cribs here in Los Angeles. All right, we're going to go out to Denver and bring Mark Schlereth in from his crib, and we're going to talk about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs general manager Jason Licht acknowledging that when it came to acquiring Tom Brady actually recruited Tampa Bay a bit more than Tampa Bay recruited Tom Brady. I found this interesting. Light said it was almost like a recruitment on his part, telling us why it would make sense for him to come to Tampa Bay. I'm sure that Brady didn't have to beg the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to take him on, and I'm sure there was plenty of conversation between the Buccaneers and Tom Brady's representative. But I'm just wondering if Tom Brady at all should be bothered by Jason Licht and Bruce Arians acknowledging just how desperately Tom Brady wanted to become a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Marcellus, you think the GOAT is bothered by this at all?
No, I don't think Tom Brady's bothered at all. Matter of fact, I think Tom Brady empowered Jason Licht to say this to the world because it's a cleaner break if Tom Brady has this narrative out versus the alternative. Think about it. Jason Licht, who's been with the Patriots organization 2 different times, 2 different stints. So he has a familiarity and a comfort level with Tom Brady already. They start talking on the phone for an hour and a half, and Tom Brady's already come to the calculation that it's better for my story to sound like Tom Brady wanted out versus the Patriots didn't want Tom Brady, because that creates more confusion, more criticism, more animus, and we just don't stop talking about what's broken in New England. Tom Brady wants to keep that situation as whole as possible because his legacy will be forever tied to New England. So I think Tom Brady, whether it was overtly or just because of relationship, let Jason know, hey, man, everything I'm telling you is on record, and you can let everyone else know because it's cleaner for me and my legacy.
Mark?
You know, this is on point for Tom Brady's brand, if you think about it. Here's what I love about it. Here is one of the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. Not dedicated or not inspired or not pushed toward a level of pride, but basically saying, man, I will go out and I will sell myself. This is on brand with the 199 production company. This is on brand with everything that he does, what he says in life. Man, I'm playing this game not as a revenge tour toward the New England Patriots. I'm playing this game because I love football. And I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going, this is a franchise and this is an organization that not only, one, fits my skill set, but they've got the players in place that I can come in there and I can continue to be one of the greatest, in the game as it currently, not just the greatest of all time, but one of the greats in the game right now, the way it plays. So to me, this is on brand with Tom Brady. I don't think he has any problem with Jason Light. He's had a relationship with Jason Light. I don't think he has any problem with Jason Light saying, hey, man, I went out and recruited. I sold myself. That's what I'm doing right now. And I love the fact that you can swallow your pride. You don't let ego get in the way. And you say, this looks like the best fit, the best situation for me. Let me go out there, and because I want to continue to play, let me go out there and push for that spot in Tampa.
Let me say this. Let me play the other side of this a little bit, because I tend to agree with you and Marcellus. But let's play the other side. Let's say we're a New England Patriot fan reading this story today and like, wow, Tom Brady wanted out of here this bad that he went and sold himself to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We haven't heard any stories of him going to Bill Belichick or even Robert Kraft and passionately explaining why, hey, I need to be here. This is what we need to do. Where was this sales pitch to stay in New England? Again, if I'm a Patriot fan, I could take this in a bit of a negative light of like, damn, Tom Brady wanted to be in Tampa more than he wanted to be here in New England, to the point that he went and sold himself and sold the narrative to Tampa why they should do it. Why didn't he do it here in New England to stay?
Well, the Patriot fans saw it close and personal more so than any of us. I mean, they were intimate with that experience, realizing that the defense wasn't as good as its ranking, realizing that he didn't have weapons offensively, and also looking at Tom Brady start to decline in part because of the lack of weapons over the last couple of years since he won the MVP. So if you're a Patriots fan, you also know how Bill Belichick and his personality is not for everyone. And I'm tired of hearing about how his success is supposed to cover up all wounds. That's not true. In any situation, anybody in their workplace, you can have tremendous success. But if you don't like going to work as much, that starts to wear on you. And I think Tom Brady showed me a tremendous trait, something that I always said about the late, great Junior Seau, is it's amazing when you see someone with so much talent, in this case, not only talent, but accolade, and then they act like the 53rd man on the roster. They totally just flip your world upside down because his mannerisms, his behavior is of a guy who looks like he needs an opportunity when you know he can have many opportunities. Tom Brady's going to come off looking better because he's a guy who humbled himself and expressed his desire to go somewhere instead of always taking in the love.
And we don't know. I mean, we have no idea what Tom Brady said to Robert Kraft, what he said to Bill Belichick. For all I know, he went out there and said, hey, man, I want to be here. Let's figure out a way to make this thing work. And Bill Belichick said no, shunned him. And I'm with Marcellus. You know what? Just because you play a professional sport doesn't mean you're not human. All these guys are human. They all want to be loved. They all want to be cared for to a degree, right? And it's not just about the money. It's about the work environment. It's about going to a place. But this job is hard. It is incredibly hard. And so you want to go somewhere where there's still a level of fun. Yeah, you got to work hard. You got to do all that stuff. We're got to win. But there's still got to be that level of fun. And that just may have not been a part of what's gone on here, especially in the last few years. The other part of this is, hey, you know what? I believe that I'm the reason that we've had this success. And everybody wants to talk about, hey, is it Brady? Is it Belichick? Belichick, the 100 games he coached without Tom Brady, he was 42 and 58, I believe. So, Tom Brady's got a chance to go somewhere that has a ton of talent around him to be a playoff contender. And trust me, that Tampa team, I did some Tampa games toward the end of the season. That was a playoff team had it not been for Jameis Winston's 39 total turnovers. And that's not going to happen.
Let's move on.
Tom Brady is not going to turn it over
like that. Let's move on to Eric Reed. Who is the safety, Colin Kaepernick's best friend. Carolina Panthers released Eric Reed, but Eric Reed is still causing waves in the NFL. He and his lawyers, one of them, a Colin Kaepernick lawyer, I think Mark Garagos, wants the CBA just agreed upon, just approved by the players, invalidated because he says there's some language that was changed as it relates to disabled players and their benefits. He wants the CBA invalidated and a revote, and he's threatening to sue the NFLPA and the NFL, I guess. question to you guys is, do you think this move here by Eric Reid, do you think this signals that his NFL career is over, Marcellus?
Yeah, I think it's over. Kind of surprised it even lasted this long, being respectful to what he's done. But at the same time, you know, in Carolina for 2 years, 1 interception, a lot of combined tackles, a lot of assisted tackles, but at the same time, not exactly a playmaker. And then we all know that what comes with Eric Reid is going to be a lot of attention, especially off the field. So that said, it's pretty funny how in his list of accolades, you know, he's made the Pro Bowl before. He's a good player. You say that's Colin Kaepernick's best friend. That's the first line. And I hope that Eric Reid is not putting that on his mantle as just being Colin Kaepernick's best friend, because he's done more. Here's the funny part about it. If Drew Brees had brought this to our attention, I think we would receive it differently. But when it's Eric Reid, we already say he got 2 strikes against him in terms of, oh, here you go again, trolling the NFL, trying to get under their skin and bringing up this situation. But if you really look at the situation, distant from who brought it to your attention, it makes sense. I've never signed a contract. And then the actual contract that we are working with that is established is different than the one I signed. And that's what he's pointing out. And what he's pointing out is actually significant, because using 2015 as a designation of, do you use your Social Security benefits before or after? The player said, yeah, we'll sign it for the guys who use it before, and then it flips. So it's like surgery. Mark Schlereth always says this. It's only minor surgery when it doesn't happen to you. In this situation, what he's pointing out, it doesn't happen to most guys. Most guys are not in this situation. But it is significant to those in it. So even though it's Eric Reid, kudos for him. Kudos to him for pointing it out. We'll have to just go through the process now.
Yeah, I don't think this ends his career. Now, I mean, lack of production, that might be a part of it. But I don't think it ends his career. I think he still has an opportunity to play in this league. Guys are going to get hurt all the time. It may take a while for him to find himself a landing spot, but I don't think it ends his career, because I don't think this is directly toward the NFL as much as it is toward the Players Association. How are you going to have us vote on a contract that was, you know, quote unquote, legally binding, and then all of a sudden the contract that we voted on, that we read, that was part of what you distributed to all of us as players, is different than the one we're signing? Like, that to me is a Players Association issue. It's not so much the league issue. So I don't look at it like the league is going to say, oh, look at Eric Reid just, you know, causing waves again. This is him pointing to the Players Association going, you are not taking care of us the way we should be taken care of. And so I don't think this limits him from having another opportunity to play in the league.
You know, I'm a person that really believes in accept the truth from wherever it comes. And so even my biggest enemy, if he says, hey, Whitlock, you're overweight, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? You're right. I have a difficult time, though, separating Eric Reid from his message, because the guy spends every day trying to be important. And if this were the case, and let's say his allegations are true and he's provided evidence that they are true, I think if he were more sincere, he would ask a current signed NFL player of some stature to be the face of bringing this up and questioning DeMaurice Smith and the NFLPA and questioning the league. But Eric Reid spends every day trying to figure out how I can be important. And if I got to go be Colin Kaepernick's best friend and take a knee and complain about the police at a football stadium rather than at a police headquarters, that's what I'll do. That'll make me important. That'll get me retweets and likes. So it's just difficult for me. I wish it had come from a Drew Brees or any Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes or anybody else that's a player in standing in the NFL. Then I think we could hear the message and we take his allegations more seriously. All right, stick around. When we come back, Darnell Smith is going to be here with his question of the day. Darnell Smith from his crib. More Speak for Yourself after this.
It's Darnell. That's my guy. My question of the day.
All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself from the crib, presented by Hyundai. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley. Time now for my homeboy from the east side of Indianapolis, from Nottingham Village, from Warren Central High School, to join the program. Darnell, Uh-oh.
Hey,
On that inside jig.
What's going on,
Take
y'all?
it away.
Yes, sir. Let's talk
What's
about
up?
Cam Newton. He was been posting to Instagram nonstop since being released by the Panthers, including a bunch of workout videos that have showed his hair in full effect. Now, Whitlock, I know you're not a fan of Cam's hair, but we get a lot of reactions on Twitter to your opinion, with people always saying that the hairstyle is just a part of the culture. So I want to ask you, can you explain your problem with Cam's hair?
Look, man, I'm old and I'm old school, I guess. I think when you're a quarterback in the National Football League, that's basically like being the mayor of a city. That's one of the most high-profile jobs in all the sports and one of the most high-profile jobs in all of America, and it's a corporate job. And so if I'm going to interview for a corporate job, I'm going to have a corporate look. And it would be, I'm giving Cam Newton the same advice my father would give me, and probably Cam Newton's father gives him. Cut the damn hair. And for the people over social media, because I saw some of that yesterday, talking about, man, the hair is part of our culture. Since when? Who said that? Who established that as part of our culture? And what other ethnic group in America has some kind of frivolous hairstyle as part of their culture? Who else? I don't know any other people that take this much pride in some kind of hairstyle that takes 2 days to have, and you got to maintain it you got to put thought into it. Who does that? So anyway, that's my problem. I used to be young and dumb. I used to put juices and berries and all the curls in my hair and all that other stuff. Jerry curl, that's part of my culture. Really? I don't think so. That's my problem.
Oh, okay, I hear you. A couple things. One, I don't think that leadership has a specific look, whether it's corporate leadership, civic leadership, whatever it is. I think we get caught up in that perception a lot of times, and we can see anybody, a crook put on a suit, and we think that, oh, he's professional. You're the fool. I think that we have to rely on what our real character judgments are, and they don't wear certain hairstyles and certain clothing and wardrobe. My grandmother told me, you can't be right about a person looking at the wrong things. So how can you be right in the assessment of Cam or anyone if you're looking at the wrong things, which obviously I think the hair is. It's about a perspective. It's about an attitude that determines your altitude. And I think that he's not showing pride in his hair because he had different hairstyles as he played. So if it was about this excessive pride, he wouldn't have different types of hairstyles. The perspective that I think that will help you understand where I think Cam is coming from is, what do they say about skyscrapers? They're taller than airplanes when they're grounded. But when they take flight, when they soar, they look pretty small, those skyscrapers. I think that right now, depending on how you're looking at Cam, because you're looking at Cam like he's injury prone the last 2 years, he was 0-8 in his last 8 starts, he's not the same guy, then you look at those obstacles as a lot bigger than they really are. But once Cam starts pulling the shirt open again, and whatever he's looking like at that time is going to all of a sudden be deemed successful and deemed appropriate and deemed something you should have pride in. So I think that's where Cam's coming from. Like, doesn't matter how I look, it's how I play. And right now I need a job to go out there and show you that I can play.
Darnell, you're half my age. I'm going to give you a chance to. You have any thoughts on my point of view? Go ahead and beat up on me if you want to. Remember, I can't fire you, though, but go ahead.
Oh, damn.
Man, right.
How are you back, Darnell?
Appreciate that, big dog. But, yeah, I'm siding with Marcellus on this one, man. Like, I don't believe a hairstyle should dictate your position. I mean, think about your favorite quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. That's not the typical quarterback hairstyle. And this guy was MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Super Bowl MVP. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's changed his hairstyle a couple times. That's not your traditional hairstyle as well. So we have other examples of quarterbacks who have been good leaders, who have had a lot of success with different types of hairstyles. I mean, it's not like if Cam Newton gets a bald fade, he's going to win MVP next year. So at the end of the day, as long as he's taking care of business, owning off the field, I think success will come.
Okay, Darnell, you are clear on this. If Cam Newton had won the Super Bowl last year, I wouldn't be saying cut your hair. If Cam Newton had won the MVP last year, I wouldn't be saying cut your hair. But it's been since 2015, since he won an MVP, he's been in the Super Bowl, and since he's had so many injury problems, so many questions about his leadership, so many questions about his focus, he's in a different lane. I don't have any questions about Lamar Jackson's focus. Lamar Jackson can wear his hair any kind of way he wants to because he, to me, has shown a commitment to the game, a commitment to the craft that where I can't question him. Same goes with Patrick Mahomes. But when it comes to Cam, I have questions, and I think other people have questions about how much are you really committed to this game? How much are you committed to being a global icon? How much time do you spend thinking about fashion and what you look like rather than your performance and preparation? And then to the people, again, because I'm aware of the social media backlash, again, I see a lot of people that just never had a father up their rear end 24/7 the way that I did. And that's a good thing. I'm just telling you, having somebody, a male figure that's constantly pushing you. My father complained about everything I did. I used to dress terribly. And my father was upset, even into my adult age, when I was taking care of my father. He stayed on me about everything, and thank God he did. And so that's all my problem is with Cam Newton. Given his situation and where he's at, it's time for a different haircut, brother, and show people, look, the only thing that's important to me right now is football. Not my fashion, not the scarf over my head, not this crazy hairstyle that just doesn't fit the traditional look of a quarterback. So that's my take. I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to be the old man, beat me up over social media, Twitter, whatever. But the old way still does work. Trust me on that. All right, when we come back, Rick Bucher is going to come in, and we're going to talk about LeBron James. What's more important for LeBron, finishing the season or playing in front of a packed house of fans? All right, stick around for that. All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself from the Crib, presented by Hyundai. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley. All right, let's don't waste any time. Let's go out to the Bay Area. Rick Bucher joining us live from the Bay, from his crib. Let's move to LeBron James. And LeBron, what's more important for LeBron, finishing the season? And there's a lot of conversation about how we can finish this NBA season. LeBron has been on record. He doesn't want to play unless he can play in front of fans. And there's been a lot of conversation about playing in front of empty arenas. What's more important for LeBron, Marcellus, finishing the season or playing in front of fans?
Oh, absolutely, it's finishing the season. Even him talking about he wouldn't play in front of fans, he started to walk that back and kind of put it more in the light of jest because he realized that may be a necessary measure to get this season going. But at his age, knowing that he can see his expiration date, no matter how distant it is, he still has more basketball behind him than in front of him. So he's counting down these numbers, and at 35, you don't want to waste opportunity. And this is really terrible timing for him, as he even talked about, because it takes forever to get into shape, and it takes no time to get out of it. And that's what LeBron is scared of, and I'm sure he's scared for his own team, that they may have missed a golden opportunity because of this interruption.
It's not finishing the season, so by default, it is a desire to play in front of fans. But the desire to play in front of fans is really a cover for, I don't want to play these playoffs when I know I'm going to be at a disadvantage. You're right. The age is a factor. And while we may look at him and say, man, he doesn't look 35, he knows he's 35, and he knows that he's calibrated things very carefully this season in order to not look 35. But the reality is 2 months off, having to start from zero, playing with one of the oldest teams in the league, he knows that their chances, he's now at a disadvantage in terms of being able to get this done. And he looks much better if there is no resumption of the season. And we just look at it and say, well, LeBron had the Lakers in first in the West. If it hadn't been interrupted, if it hadn't ended, he very likely would have gotten a championship in Los Angeles, whether he ends up getting one down the road or not. So coming back, LeBron's always been very careful to make sure everything's skewed into his advantage. This is one situation. If we come back and play at his age with his team, he will not have that advantage.
We may have to circle back to this topic tomorrow because you have blown my mind, Rick, and I need more time to marinate on what you just said. But I want you first to clarify why you think LeBron James is afraid to play basketball. I just don't buy that. I think this layoff, I don't think that makes him fearful of finishing this season. And so you clarify that, and then Marcellus, you respond however you want, because I just need time to think about this. You've blown my mind.
Well, he's talked about how everybody says that this layoff is a positive, and it's not. He said on the podcast that it's not. At his age, getting 2 months off at this stage, physically, it's starting from zero. And so if going up against a Giannis Antetokounmpo or a Kawhi Leonard or a Paul George, and I dare say, Marcellus, you can speak to this. The way you prepared to play when you were 31 and 32 in Jacksonville was a far cry different than when you first came into the NFL. That's what LeBron's looking at, and he realizes I'm at a disadvantage here. This is not. I could look bad. We could get knocked out early. He doesn't want to run up against that when if they don't play again, we simply look at what he's accomplished to this point, which has been very impressive.
Yeah, Rick is hitting it right on the head in terms of, I think the Lakers have the second oldest roster. So let's just talk about a collective age being older than most of the league and whoever they're going to face going forward. And think about your own family. Think about yourself, whether you're Whitlock, myself, anybody who's getting up there in age. When do you feel your best? After you warm up and you got things rolling. When do you feel your worst? When you first wake up after you rested. Guess what? LeBron's like, y'all out here saying since I'm old, I need rest and this is going to help me. It's just the opposite effect. It's going to be just like him waking up for the first time, but it's going to be latter season, if not playoff time. He needs time to get this engine revving and rolling again, and that's what LeBron is trying to whisper, but it's starting to come out loud and clear.
All right, listen, we got to move on and get to Uncle Jimmy. I'm going to end this segment by saying something very inappropriate. That's what I'm known for. I'm sorry, apologizing up front. But y'all did kind of make me understand your point of view. You guys are both married. Those of us that are single, this coronavirus has me afraid. When I get back out to Wiley's and get mingling around, I am worried about restarting my engine, and my performance early will probably be shaky. So if there's any ladies out there, you got to cut me the benefit of the slack. I'm older. It's going to take me time to get back in rhythm. I get where you guys are coming from. All right, stick around. Uncle Jimmy's nuts.
1 minute. 1 minute.
All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself from the crib, presented by Hyundai. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley. Time for Uncle Jimmy from his crib.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jimmy,
yes,
who's your big dummy of the day?
Big dummy of the day go to the only single person on this show that still wants to try to give out marital advice to everybody else. If that ain't the big dummy calling the great dame a dog, I don't know what is. Come on, man.
Well, we know you have plenty of experience with marriage and divorce.
Happily.
What did you think of my analogy, Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones and the prenuptial agreement that I think Jerry wants? I think Jerry's settling and should extend the engagement, put a franchise tag on Dak for this season. Stay committed to that. Anyway, Uncle Jimmy, what's your take?
Look, man, let me tell you this. Have you ever heard the phrase that acceptance is the first stage to recovery? See, that's where where Dak Prescott is right now. See, Dak has accepted the fact that he will never, ever win a beauty contest in the NFL. See?
He'll never win a what?
He'll never, ever win a beauty contest in the NFL.
Gotcha.
Okay. I said beauty.
Yeah.
Okay, meaning if he can do that, then surely Jerry Jones can accept the fact that he's no longer the eye candy that he once thought he was. Okay? Meaning that the Dallas Cowboys is about 25 years past their prime. And to be honest with you, Jerry Jones is starting looking a hell of a lot more like Al Davis day by day. Now, as soon as Jerry Jones accepts the fact that Emmitt Smith or Michael Irving ain't running down the tunnel no time soon to save him, the better off he's going to be. Okay? He needs to let bygones be bygones. He needs to accept the fact that there's been some bad contracts. And he needs to accept the fact that Marcellus Wiley is still cashing checks from the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? And he shouldn't hold that against Dak Prescott. Okay? I'm trying to tell you, Jerry, it ain't no better than this. You dance with the one that brought you there, no matter how big she is. Unlike my nephew, who said dance with the one who brought you the spicy 2% biscuit.
We got to get to my approval rating, our approval rating. We both have Jerry basically as role players are 65, and I've got him at a 65. I've marked him down a point in job performance. He hasn't got the deal signed with Dak. I got him at a 65. Marcellus, you got him at a 66.
Yeah, he dropped for me as well, but scout team all day.
That's it for us. See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. You know.